Welcome to Talking Water, our monthly segment where we discuss all things water and wastewater, brought to you by our sponsor, our regional authority, East Gippsland Water. Hello and welcome to another episode of Talking Water. Today we'll be talking with Travis Sloan, Coordinator of Water Resources at East Gippsland Water. Welcome Travis, and thank you for joining us today.
Hello Damian, and thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Travis, we've lots of interesting things to talk about today, especially aspects of your role at East Gippsland Water that involves long-term weather forecasting. Can you tell our listeners a little bit how you became involved in this field and why it's important in how you help manage East Gippsland's water supply?
Sure, well I must mention that I'm not an expert in climate drivers and weather patterns, but I have always been interested in the environment, which is probably the main reason I completed a Bachelor of Science at Monash University back in 2007. I've spent the last 15 years in the water industry in different service delivery roles. For those reasons, I've gained a good understanding of the likelihood and the vulnerabilities presented by drought on our drinking water and sewage systems.
Thanks, Travis. Are you able to tell us a little bit more about your role at East Gippsland Water?
I support East Gippsland Water's strategic decision-making on the annual water outlook, focusing on how we monitor, prepare for and respond to drought. With drought being a key challenge for maintaining reliable drinking water supplies. As part of our 5-year review cycle, we update the East Gippsland Water Urban Water Strategy, which outlines how we will maintain service levels even during droughts or extreme weather events, as best we can of course, and in line with community expectations. In my role, I analyse a wide range of climate data and indicators to develop seasonal outlooks. These insights feed into East Gippsland Water's annual water outlook, a key tool for assessing the likelihood of water restrictions.
What sort of things are included in the water outlook?
Well, our annual water outlook includes indicators of drought conditions like rainfall and stream flow, and this helps assess the catchment conditions. There is also system demand and customer usage, and all of this helps determine the likelihood of water restrictions. We also have a drought preparedness plan, which includes assessing options to avoid water restrictions, actions to prepare for drought conditions, the feasibility of alternative supplies, the effectiveness of water restrictions, and any open public spaces exempt for water restrictions.
Thanks, Travis. That's very interesting work. So like myself, I'm sure there are plenty of listeners out there who have great interest in what's happening for the rest of the current spring and then summer. Have you compiled an outlook for this period yet?
Yes, we have, and the first draft is ready to be submitted to DECA for feedback. So I'll give a quick summary of the climate outlook between now and the end of January 2026. In terms of rainfall, it is looking fairly typical with a 60 to 75% chance of above median rainfall. That's about 100 to 300 millimetres during that period across the catchments of East Gippsland. And when it comes to temperature, there's a 65 to 80% chance that we'll have above median maximum temperatures.
What are some of the main things you look at to develop your climate outlook?
Okay, the main factors behind these predictions include two key climate drivers that we call ENSO, which stands for El Nino Southern Oscillation, which is characterised by alternating warm and cool phases in the equatorial Pacific Ocean. This affects wind patterns and ocean temperatures, which in turn changes the amount of moisture and rainfall that reaches Australia. We are currently seeing that while we have relatively neutral conditions at the moment, there is a possible shift to La Nina later in spring. Now, La Nina typically means that we experience increased rainfall starting from late spring into at least midsummer. Another indicator is the Indian Ocean Dipole, which is a measure of the difference in sea surface temperatures across the equatorial Indian Ocean. It also typically brings increased rainfall with a higher chance of thunderstorms.
Well, it sounds like we'll be having warmer days and some more spring rain. So what does that mean for possible water restrictions, Travis?
Well, at the moment, we think the introduction of summer water restrictions is unlikely for most of our water supply systems here in East Gippsland. However, due to the limited nature of climate forecasting, we can only look 3 to 6 months ahead, it is difficult to predict a 12-month outlook for the Mitchell system, which would affect quite a few of our customers because it includes towns like Bairnsdale, Lindenow, Nowa, Lakes Entrance, Painesville. In terms of catchment conditions, interestingly, the rainfall and stream flow patterns have fluctuated around the 5-year average this year, with extended dry periods and then intense localised rainfall events. This is why our water supply systems need to be more adaptive to these changes in climate, and we need to have adequate source water reliability and build suitable infrastructure. Of course, if East Gippsland also experiences any extreme events such as bushfires, power loss or water contamination, these could also trigger water restrictions.
Why is that, Travis?
Well, bushfires typically lead to a reduction in source water quality with dirty events in our waterways, reducing the available water because we want quality water entering our treatment plants. Power loss can reduce the capacity to operate water treatment plants or pumping stations. Therefore, it's our ability to supply water to the network and the customers. And water contamination, which is often a result of poor asset conditions or storm activity, bushfires, can trigger restrictions because the need to provide safe drinking water.
Thanks, Travis. Are there any other factors that you consider when deciding whether you'll introduce water restrictions?
Yes, definitely, that's a good point. Another important one is water demand, which has generally remained pretty steady in most locations across East Gippsland so far this year, except for Swiss Creek or Boston Bem River, which saw a reduction. Now, even though dry conditions do increase water usage, a major impact to total water demand for the water supply system is water loss within the network, called non-revenue water. This is why we monitor water demand, including non-revenue water, and respond accordingly, usually with active leak detection works to find and repair those leaks.
Well, that's good news, Travis. Now, I know there's a lot of talk about climate change and the potential of drought conditions in the future. So is that the reason Victoria has permanent water-saving rules in place, and how do they work?
Yes, you're right, Damian. Water is a finite resource, so even though it might have been raining a bit lately, it's important that we be mindful of our water consumption and look for efficiencies and alternatives to water supply. Surface water reliability may decline in future years, and there is always potential for long periods of drought. So that's why the Victorian Government has sensibly introduced permanent water saving rules.
Travis, can you tell us a little bit more about the rules?
Well, they don't so much restrict water use, but instead encourage the efficient use of water by taking common sense measures like using a trigger nozzle on your hose, watering gardens in the evening or early morning to reduce evaporation, things like that.
Thanks, Travis. How can people find out more information about these rules?
The best way is to go on our website and search for permanent water saving rules.
Fantastic. Thanks, Travis, and thanks for joining us on Talking Water today.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You've been listening to the November episode of Talking Water with this month's guest, Travis Sloan, Coordinator of Water Resources at East Gippsland Water. Thanks for listening. Talking Water is recorded and produced in the studios of Radio East Gippsland, REG FM.